ho, ho! This narrow normal's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! This narrow normal's got to go! Hey, hey!
No, Lauren, this one is...
Hey, Mouse!
Normal! What does that mean? Anything!
Exactly! You want to be in our parade?
No.
You sure?
No. What is crazy? Anybody's crazy. And then they say I'm the they say what normal? What is normal?
That's
normal
why
is
normal is a myth.
And I'm the crazy one.
Normal is a myth.
We're the only ones who are sane. Only recently is it starting to sort of earn its way back. Yeah, it's
I didn't know what it was going to look like till it's together.
Keep going with that technique. If people think we should switch over, we can do that. Failing miserably.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! This narrow normal's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Have a few moments of silence for people that we've lost, that have been close to us. Just try and remember them and hold them in our hearts while we respect the relationships we've had with those who have passed recently. All right, I wanted to get the more important things of this demonstration out of the way, the moment of silence and Malaika's talk before rains come.
All right, so first of all, I just want to acknowledge that this is slightly awkward timing for a march about something other than Black Lives Matter. And so just want to recognize that from the out front and not wanting to take away energy or space or time from that movement, but also realizing that they are interrelated, as this Mad Pride movement is with kind of all forms of injustice. Is everyone familiar with this book? This is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the 5th version. And this is the book that psychiatrists and medical profession use to determine whether or not we are well-adjusted or healthy or normal. So this book is actually full of over 300 different diagnoses that are basically lists of feelings and behaviors. Can anyone shout out some of the things that you know are in this book? Not as a diagnosis, but as a behavior or attribute.
Anger.
Anger is in this book.
Sleeps too much.
Sleeps too much.
Sad.
Sleeps not enough. Sadness.
Lonely.
Confidence.
Loneliness. What was the other thing?
Confidence.
Confidence. Thinking that you're a good person is in here. Thinking that you're not a good person is in here. What else?
Imagination.
Imagination, yeah.
Thinking
Totally.
that you're being persecuted.
Thinking that you're being persecuted, absolutely. Thinking that people may not always have good intentions for you. Anything else?
Pride.
Pride, yeah, absolutely.
Energy.
Energy, not enough energy, too much energy. What's that?
Having visions.
Visions, yes.
Hearing voices.
Hearing voices.
Being religious.
Being religious.
Being
Absolutely.
not religious.
Or, yeah, and being afraid. Anything else?
Oh, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Too much, not enough sex.
Yes, absolutely. Too much or not enough sex or sexual desire. Basically, any aspect of our human experience is cataloged here in some way. And if you fit maybe too many of the items on a list in there, you may be considered sick, your feelings are sick, your thoughts are sick, your personality is sick, and you may be a danger to society. Please join me in saying, fuck that.
Fuck that!
Thank you. So, how else do we make sense of these experiences, if not according to the disease model that the DSM talks about? One option is to think that we are responding sanely and reasonably and with the tools that we have in response to the madness around us.
Ashe.
And what is some of the madness around us right now?
War.
War, violence,
Terrorism.
terrorism, racism,
Fear-mongering.
fear-mongering, what?
Evictions.
Evictions,
Poverty.
poverty,
Hunger.
a system of economic injustice, hunger, abuse, trauma, yes, unemployment,
Employment.
employment, capitalism,
Big pharma.
big pharma, yes,
Little
absolutely.
pharma.
Little pharma, yeah. Yeah, anything else? There's a lot in the world to be, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, creatively maladjusted to. A few times he mentioned the need for something called, what is it? The International Society for the Advancement of Creative Maladjustment, or some similar words to that, I may have it wrong, saying that he never intends to become maladjusted to,
Well-adjusted.
Never intends to become well-adjusted.
yes, thank you, never intends to become well-adjusted to racism, segregation, a system of economic injustice, and all the other wrongs in the world. It's not, you may have heard, a measure of good health or sanity to be well-adjusted to those things. So, if one of us were to show up at a hospital or a therapist's office or something like that and talk about how we're having difficulty navigating the world and coping, we would likely be told that there is something wrong with us, that we are sick, that we need to see a counselor, and we need to take drugs. And all of that might be fine and well and helpful to some people and also harmful to other people. But what doesn't happen is that anyone diagnoses our communities or our society or our environment. And so the mental health system is an oppressive system, not just because it causes direct, actual harm to individuals, but because it fails to actually lead us to solve any of the problems in our world, because we're diagnosing the problems as within individuals. What would be different if, when we look at statistics on suicide or just general trouble navigating the world, and rather than saying, what do we need to do for these people? What kind of nets under bridges do we need to build? Or what kind of surveillance systems do we need to put in place to keep these sick people from doing these acts? What if we actually said, like, gosh, I wonder what is wrong in Vermont that people are wanting to die? And put some money towards doing something about that. And it's not fully binary. It's not like we aren't doing any of those things, but that is not the approach to these systemic problems. Decontextualizing someone's suffering is violent.
Say that again.
Decontextualizing anyone's struggle and suffering is a violent, oppressive thing to do across the board.
In other words, taking their acts out of context.
Taking their acts out of a context is a violent thing to do. So, I'm sorry to say that I don't think that the mental health system is going to change in this way that I'm talking about very soon. And I think that there's a lot of work we can do to push it in that direction. And we need to be doing that. And also we need to be doing some other things in the meantime so that we all can survive and thrive and create some alternatives for ourselves. So that means mad pride communities. Communities where it is fully not shamed or pathologized to have any experience that we have. Communities where being mad is reclaimed as a positive identity, as the LGBTQ community has reclaimed the word queer. We need to be setting up alternative and safe systems for people to access the kind of support that they need. And we need to be sending some different messages than what we're getting. We need to be telling people that their thoughts and feelings are on the spectrum of human experiences, always. And that they're not alone and there are other people like them, and that we can figure out how to navigate this world with the diverse and dangerous, sometimes, gifts that we have. And we also need to begin this struggle inside of ourselves. Like, inside of us is also this battleground around this issue. And I want to share just really briefly how I found some liberation from the oppressive disease model ideas that I was given about my life. And I was at a conference with Pat Risser, who is an activist who has recently passed away. And he was giving a presentation in which he was scrolling down through a Word document instead of a PowerPoint, which is so cute. And he was talking about the mental illness as a social construct. And he said, he made this argument in a way that I had never quite heard before and really resonated. He said, when you got diagnosed, who drew your blood or tested your urine or scanned your brain? And of course, no one had done any of those things for any of us. And so what was the diagnosis based on then? It was based on observations or expressions of thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And then plugging those thoughts and feelings and behaviors into a little filter of whether or not they are normal, acceptable, or reasonable. And however, isn't what is normal, acceptable, and reasonable in terms of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors different in different cultures, in different time periods, different generations, different sexual orientations, different genders, different religions, different families, and different individuals? So maybe then a diagnosis says more about the belief system of the people or the society creating the diagnosis than it does about you. And that really, and therefore is a social construct and not real in the sense that the flu or cancer is real in a tangible way, because it's just an idea. And that really clicked for me intellectually, and I went home that night and laid on my couch and thought, man, if all that I've ever been told about how to make sense of the suffering in my life is, not a real illness or diagnosis, just something that was created by a bunch of mainly white, wealthy men sitting around a table decades ago voting and yelling across the table on what is disease and what is not, then what does that mean about my life story? And I had a long time believed that there were only two options to make sense of the suffering that I had experienced. One, I had a broken brain. Or, on the other hand, I was just a bad person. Those were the two options. But now, seeing this as a social construct, I thought about my life history and realized, what if I had actually been just normal this whole time? And had a profound kind of healing, integrating moment of feeling whole for the first time in a long, long time. And after that, just thought a lot about, it felt very, very liberated. And so it just leaves me with this question: if the cure for me, had been changing the story that I told myself about myself, what had actually been the problem.
Thank you very much. We're here, we're loud, we're mad, we're proud. We're here,
We're loud, we're mad, we're proud.